May 1st, happy May Day, howdy doody. So we started a new book. It's How to Invent Almost Anything by David Straker and Graham Rawlinson. But this is starting for May. Like I said, I'm a couple days behind. I'm going to put 2 up at least today. But this is, my goal for this now is just coming up with something. I feel like we've been doing this for a month. I feel like I've learned at least a little bit. I hope you guys have learned something. But now I'm going to start diving into actually creating something. Not just talking about it, but doing it. So, first part it talks about is chunking and breaking things into manageable pieces. Really the questions that you ask on why things work, how they work, what they do. For example, chunking is breaking pieces down into their bare bones, or vice versa, where you're building things up using pieces to create something new. Chunking down, easily asked by how. How does this work? How does this work? How does this work? And question up is why. Why does this work? Then it goes into value analysis, where the value of the overall product or whatever you produce is greater than the cost of actually doing so. Sounds kind of like a no-brainer, but it's also the beginning of the book, and they just want to get the ideas in your head. This also brings the invisible to visible, to where it shows, for example, the pieces of a mouse. You see the casing and the ball. Well, each of those has a value, and what do they add to the overall function of the object? It dives into questioning. Why do we have a light switch? As opposed to when you just walk in a room, why don't the lights just turn on? I feel like if you're not in the room, obviously, as your parents would say, you should turn the lights off. But that's just an example of, okay, why do we need these different processes in our day-to-day living? Obviously, we're going to go into cause and effect. Why does this happen? Why, because of this, does this happen? And this is just going to lead us to understand and invent, ways to mimic good events or effects of a product, and then prevent less than ideal effects of a project. And this leads into, he talks about a man named Ishikawa. He also created the fishbone diagram, if you've ever seen that, where you have an overall focus and it branches off with arrows into all the different pieces. And finally, like I've talked about before, is the 5 whys. If you can ask 5 whys of why something works or why it happens, you're going to go to the root cause analysis of what it actually does and what the purpose of. And more so in our things, why are we trying to overcome alive? Till tomorrow.